we go. Know who you got. Let's work.
We're going to have a good time playing football together.
We're not hoping to win, we expect to win.
Every team is unique, every team is different. But the one thing that is similar is going out there and competing for, a Lombardi trophy.
We put the work in. I think this team's ready to go.
Let's go! Let's go!
To go or not. Welcome back, everyone, to our post-game show. Lisa Matthews, Kyle Odegard here with you, and we're talking about another victory. The Cardinals are 2-0 for the first time since 2015. We have a lot to cover here, a lot of highlights, so let's dive right into them. Kyle, taking a look here, how the Cardinals got this 30-15 win here in the first quarter. Kyler Murray to D-Hop gets the score 7-0 on the board first. And Kyle, he was left wide open on this.
Yeah, I mean, DeAndre Hopkins had the huge game in San Francisco, and as you see, for some reason, they left him open. That's never usually a good plan against D-Hop, but quick score on the opening possession for the Cardinals.
And then on special teams, coming up special once again in this game. Look at that.
Yeah, Darrell Daniels, great play there, knocking the ball out. And Aaron Brewer, the long snapper, doesn't get his name mentioned very often, so good for him to get that ball.
Gets a takeaway. I'm sure he's loving that.
Second week in a row, good special teams play.
Now here's Murray making it look easy once again with his feet. That was his first rushing touchdown of the day, 14 yards. Great blocking up front for him, Kyle, too.
Yeah, good blocking. He does the rest. And then you look here, Andy Isabella has, not made the impact he wanted to, but he's a deep threat. Huge pass over the top. If Kyler Murray let him more on that throw, that's probably a touchdown. So great confidence boost for Andy Isabella.
And then here we have Christian Kirk with finally has his deep bomb here, 54 yards. Just a beautiful pass as well, Kyle.
And that's what was missing last week. Impressive by Christian Kirk to get there.
Now here's what made the score 27-3, his second rushing touchdown here for Murray. I mean, we were just seeing him in his second year just make so many strides. We're going to get more into that in this post-game show. Let's go into the FedEx air-to-ground quarterback comparison and how they fared here in week 2 between Murray and Haskins. We just saw such a big stride here, Kyle, if we can just talk about Kyler Murray in the second year for him.
Just a great game, very decisive running the ball. And it was interesting because last year, Kyler Murray didn't take off as much. It seemed like he wanted to prove himself as more of a passer. And this time he showed that if there wasn't anything open, he was going to go with his feet. And he's such an electric running back. I mean, it's hard to talk about Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson and talk about these explosive runners and putting anybody in that category. But the fact that Kyler Murray continues to do this, I think he's getting into that realm. And when you're comparing Kyler Murray to Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson, that says something about his feet. And as we saw with the deep throws, great passing arm too.
Yeah, talk about moving with his feet here. Let's go into the Toro ground stats and take a look at how they fared on the ground. Obviously, Murray, such a big part of this ground game.
Yeah, I mean, Kenyon Drake had a decent game, but it was mostly Kyler Murray pulling the weight. And I think that's a little bit of a concern, the fact that Kenyon Drake and Chase Edmonds weren't fantastic running the ball. But
well, they're up against such a great front, too.
True.
So I wanted
defense.
to see them get more going. Obviously, we saw a little bit more from Drake later on in the game. But, yeah, they're up against this tough front, so we knew it was going to be a challenge at that.
And you're right. Late in the game, when they needed to just pound out the first downs and keep the running game going, Kenyon Drake did a really nice job.
Let's take a look here at the final stats. 160 rushing yards. They went over 100, so that's good. 117 for the Washington football team, but really stands out here, 278 passing yards for the Cardinals. Yeah,
a better passing game in this one. And when you rack up 438 total yards, and it still didn't feel like the Cardinals offense was completely in sync. So it's amazing that they're running these type of numbers when everything isn't going super efficiently. Just a nice job by the Cardinals offense. 22 first downs for the Cardinals, and good job limiting the turnovers after Kyler Murray had that early interception.
Yeah, Murray does look in sync, though, in every part of the game, running and passing. Let's take a look here at the the air and ground game, the quarterback comparison between Haskins here and Murray. What's interesting, we saw the development throughout this game, and we kind of talked about it off camera preparing for this post-game show, was just the difference in their styles, very, what's the word I'm trying to say? Relevant, yeah. That Haskins is kind of that more old school quarterback versus Murray and what he can do both in the air and ground game. And
Cliff Kingsbury helps that a lot. He puts him in position to succeed. But you're right, 67 rush yards for Kyler Murray and getting the passing game going. And Dwayne Haskins sitting in the pocket, I think that's easier on the Cardinals, where they knew they could rush after him and get the pressure, especially in the first half. We saw the Cardinals doing a lot of pressure. Jordan Phillips had the big sack fumble. Devon Kennard got into it. A lot of different guys getting pressure, and a nice job by the Cardinals, because Dwayne Haskins has talent, but he did seem overmatched early. He had some touchdown passes late, but the game was pretty much in hand at that point.
Yeah, and I think what's important here, going at the half, I mean, they had a shutout in that first half, and we saw Washington come back 17 points last week. So really, I'm sure Kingsbury was making sure that his team stayed honest and didn't allow them to come back. We did see some loose ends here in the second half, but to finish the game and get the win overall, that's what's important, obviously.
Yeah, it got a little bit dicey when it was 27-15 after a couple Washington scores, but really nice drive there at the end and taking away any stress from Cliff Kingsbury and not worrying about that game getting too close there at the end.
Now, in the pregame show, I did make a prediction. I wanted to see a lot of sacks. I said Jones, Reddick, but, you know, we saw a lot of the newcomers make such an instant impact in this game, with Jordan Phillips with that sack fumble. Campbell, I mean, he was all over the place. We hear his name constantly making tackles, and then Kennard, too, having such a huge game, of sack and some tackles. All right, now we have head coach Cliff Kingsbury at the podium. Let's hear what he has to say about his team winning 30-15 here today.
On the ground, you still put up the type of numbers and points you did in both the passing game and the running game.
Yeah, it shows the weapons that we have if we're clicking. I really felt once again offensively we hurt ourselves with those penalties. It put us in the second and long and third and long situations against a very good defense and a good front. And we never got in a rhythm all day offensively. We had some big plays here and there, but I just feel like we have not hit our stride yet, and we got to keep working. We got to play cleaner and keep those drives going. But a lot of guys made big plays in crucial situations that allowed us to get that victory. But moving forward, we have to be better, and we have to clean up those penalties, and our guys know that.
Just obviously Kyler's made some jaw-dropping plays, but just how would you assess his overall play through these first 2 weeks?
A work in progress. I think you can see we're not as sharp as we'd like to be, but he has so much talent that he can still make some incredible plays. And we're just going to keep working at it and hopefully take another step next week and go from there. So he's a spectacular talent. We all know that. I think when we really get it clicking and get in a rhythm, that we can get rolling pretty good. So we'll hopefully take another step next week, and that'll continue.
Hey, Cliff, getting Andy Isabella involved early, getting a big catch from Christian, I'm wondering, was that important for you to get done early in the season? And also, is Christian doing okay health-wise?
Christian is. Had a little tightness there throughout the game, but as always, continue to push through. He's a tough young man, a heck of a player, had a tremendous catch on the sideline. And then that was awesome to see Andy. I mean, Andy has some real speed. It surprises people the way he can get up on him. You saw that today, and we have to keep, being able to utilize him and mix him in. It's just there's a lot of talented wideouts out there. You mix in Dan Arnold and Chase and KD, so it's my job to make sure all those guys are getting involved and getting the football.
Next up, please, Catherine, Kent, and Kevin.
Cliff, what do you make of Kyler's 3 touchdown runs so far this season? Have any of those caught you by surprise, just what he's been able to do?
No, I've watched that since he was 15 years old, and I think that was a part of his game last year that he was feeling out, and he's running more aggressively. He's getting vertical more than getting out of the back of the pocket like he did last year, and that was a point of emphasis for us because he is one of the most dangerous people probably in the league when he's in the open field like that. And he is as elusive as anybody, and that's a weapon. He just got to be able to protect himself, which he does a good job of.
Yeah, Cliff, after investing so much to improve defensively this offseason, What do you think how do you think that group has done through 2 games? Are you happy about where it's at?
The physicality has been great. The third downs have been great. That was an area we really struggled on last year, as y'all know, particularly third and long. And we've been getting off the field, and that was a point of emphasis for our defense and VJ and myself to really improve that. And they have. And Steve did a tremendous job adding some pieces that made big plays today. You saw 59 and 97 all over that field. And I just think that group is going to continue to come together as we go on.
Hey, Cliff, it looked like you gathered the guys after that possession where you were 3rd and 28, I think. What was the message then, and how did they respond?
They responded well. We just weren't what we needed to be. Kind of came out, we were up big at half and came out and just went through the motion second half, coaches and players. I was made some terrible play calls there. And so I just want to let them know, hey, we're hurting ourselves, we're stopping ourselves with the penalties. If we just don't move backwards, we'll win this game. And the guys, they always have confidence. They always have belief in each other. And they went out there and found a way to get it done, close out the game.
Next up, McManaman, Cox, and Tressa.
Cliff, it looked like you guys showed a tremendous amount of respect for McLaurin and his 4.3 speed. Is that why Pat kind of played off him kind of a lot today?
We had such a big lead, that was just to keep him in front, not give up anything easy. He still found a way to make some incredible plays, a big touchdown at the end. He's a tremendous competitor and player. I knew how good he was, but regardless of score, he was out there playing his tail off, and he's going to be one of the bright stars in the league moving forward.
Hey, Cliff, congrats on the win. Can you speak on DeAndre Campbell and what he brings to this defense? I feel like at times he doesn't get talked about, but like today he has a really big game and is making a bunch of plays all over the field.
Yeah, and that's how he's been since he's been here. I couldn't agree more. I think he's one of the most under the radar players in the entire league. With his length and his covering ability, his knowledge, football knowledge and IQ, for him to step in here and pick up our defensive scheme as quickly as he done. I mean, he is all about football all the time, business-like approach. I mean, he has been a great fit here, and we're just very blessed to have him.
Hey, Coach, congratulations on the win. Touching more on your defense, you had so many different guys attacking the quarterback. Everyone talks Chandler, but you had a few different guys with some big key sacks. How much are you really seeing the improvement from last year and what they've evolved to now?
It's night and day. It really is. Just the understanding of the system. Steve brought in some very talented players to fill some voids that we had, and getting Pat P back for a full season was huge. Bringing in Dre was huge. A starting corner who's played at a very high level in this league, Byron Murphy in year 2. I mean, there's a lot of guys who are having a major role that weren't here last year, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
We'll wrap it up with the final 4. Nick King, Greg Moore, Jess Root, Kirsten Susel.
Cliff, I know you said you've been seeing it since he was 15, but on those touchdown runs especially, are you able to, or do you find yourself shaking your head or smiling at what he's doing, Kyler?
I'm always just saying, get down, get down, get down, get down, get down, so I can't even enjoy it, honestly. But it's the next day I enjoy the run.
Cliff, congratulations. Good to see you, man. So not having fans is the responsible thing, and you got used to it probably with the 49ers, of course. But how nice might it have been to have the crowd there with you for a game such as this?
I don't think any of us have fully adjusted yet. I think you felt that kind of lull in the second half. You come out, it's empty. I mean, there's nothing going on, and so you got to create your own energy. And there's no doubt we miss those guys. This environment can be one of the most intimidating, one of the best in the entire world, honestly. And so to not have them is tough, but I'm hoping, sooner rather than later, we'll get those guys back and be able to enjoy the Red Sea, because they definitely give us a huge boost.
Hey, Cliff, a couple of just initial reactions. I know you have to go back and look back at the film, but how did Isaiah look from at a glance, and then the guys that were stepped in for your injured players, Lamont and Chris Banja, how do you think that they did just at an initial game level look?
I would have to watch the tape, like you said, on Isaiah. I didn't get a good view much there, but those other two did a tremendous job. I saw Banjo showing up where he's supposed to be. I mean, he's a very smart heads-up player, great core teams guy, but has stepped in and done a nice job at safety. And then Lamont to be able to push the tempo and run the offense, second-year guy like he did, my hat's off to him. I mean, it just shows the work he put in last year when he wasn't playing. His attention to detail this week in practice was awesome, and he'll just get better and better.
Hey, Cliff, Kyle just talking about what he touched on with fans not being here in the stands. I'm sure they are just so excited to get back here and cheer on this team. I mean, second 2-0 for the first time since 2015. That's a big deal here for this team.
Yeah, and especially the way the first half went and being up 20-0. And as Cliff Kingsbury just said, coming out, it was pretty silent, and they didn't have that buzz. I mean, if it's a 20-0 game in a regular season, the crowd is going absolutely nuts, and instead it's just silent here. So Cliff Kingsbury admitted that the Cardinals were going through the motions a little bit early on in the third quarter. I thought they did a pretty good job of adjusting and not letting Washington bite into that lead too much.
Yeah, well, fans, we still want to hear from you. Be sure to send in your photos, your videos using hashtag Red Sea React so we can play it on our pregame show next week, celebrating another victory here. Now let's see. Oh, Bird Gang, I don't know how many Bird Gangs that is, but hashtag Bird Gang from Happy Folk Rig.
That's one happy Twitter user.
Let's bring in the out-of-town scores here, taking a look specifically at the NFC West. How are they looking, Kyle?
Yeah, 49ers 31-13. They got a victory, and I think every NFC West team won today going into Seattle's game tonight against the Patriots. But the 49ers lost Nick Bosa to likely a torn ACL, which is obviously a huge injury for that team. They're dealing with a lot of injuries, and my eye also goes to the Packers-Lions game, knowing that Detroit is coming up next week, and Packers had a nice game, beat the Lions 42-21, so Detroit will come in here 0-2.
They certainly will. Now, touching on what Cliff Kingsbury was talking about in his press conference regarding just those complimentary receivers, Kirk, Isabella having those big catches in today's game. D-Hop, 8 receptions, 68 yards, and a touchdown. We know what he is capable of doing, but now trickling down the pecking order, it's nice to see some of these guys, the young guys, get some reps here and some touches.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about pregame is what is it going to look like if DeAndre Hopkins isn't getting the 16 targets and 14 catches in a game, and the fact that Andy Isabella and Christian Kirk had these nice long catches, that was impressive. And speaking of DeAndre Hopkins, he's now talking to the media, so we'll go listen to him.
Here we go.
A ton of killer injuries around the league this morning to a ton of star players. It seems like you guys got out of that unscathed, and you're 2-0. How refreshing is it to know you guys are healthy and cruising right now at 2-0?
Everything happens for a reason. I hate to hear that guys in this league got injured because it's a tough sport. You go out there and you put your all on the line, for a game that you love, and sometimes that happens, so hopefully those guys heal up. But, to be 2-0, it feels great. We put in the work and we get the results out. There was never a doubt in our mind that we would start like this. The team and the locker room that we have, a lot of veterans, a lot of good young guys. So to be 2-0, it's what we expected.
Hey, DeAndre, what do you think of Kyler's 2 touchdown runs today? And kind of what does he add to this defense or to this offense when he can do that when things maybe aren't working out?
He adds a different dynamic to this offense when he can go and score from 20, 30 yards out. It's something that is hard for defenders to be able to attack when you have a quarterback like that that's looking to score, not just get the first down. And also when he's running, he's looking to throw. As you've seen today, the touchdowns that he had, obviously it was defenders right there in front of him, and he made a move or two and went in for the touchdown. But Kyler's definitely a special guy with the ball in his hands.
DeAndre, at this point, 2 games in, you guys have a couple wins. You scored 30 points today. Where is this offense? Has this offense got a lot higher of a ceiling, or do you like kind of where it is right now?
Well, we got a very high ceiling. There was a lot of stuff that we left out there on the field. Some 3 and outs we had, some drives that we didn't finish, some plays that I'm pretty sure Kyler could take back. There were some plays that I wish I could take back. So, this is very early in in the season, no preseason, not a lot of time for us to go out live against another team. So for us to be able to put 30 points up against a good NFL defense in the Redskins is, it's pretty good, but there's a lot of room left for us to improve.
We'll go next 4. Tressa, Greg, Catherine, Cam.
Hey, DeAndre, congratulations on the win. I'm just curious, how much of, I guess, would it be energy or hype does your defense give you, especially when they're playing as well they did in the first half?
I love when we when we go out and win the kickoff and choose to kick the ball to the opposing offense, because I know the kind of defense that we have, and it definitely gives us a spark when our defense go out there and have a 3 and out and get big plays, get interceptions and turnovers like they do. Those guys practice hard, so I expect that. They fly around and practice all the time. Luckily, I'm happy that they can't hit me full on, but I like to see it against the opposing offense. But our defense definitely gives us a spark. Chandler, Buddha, those guys out there are making plays. Pat really doesn't get a lot of balls thrown his way, but when he does, he's definitely on top of things. So our defense gives us a big spark.
DeAndre, Greg here. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, man, good to see you.
I want to give you a hard time about not wearing a Kaepernick jersey, but I'll ask you a serious question instead. Okay. I'm curious, man. Your mom wasn't out there, and I've heard on the radio broadcast that you always give her the ball after you score a touchdown.
Yep.
So I'm curious, how much do you miss having her out there, and what's it like, to not have played in front of your hometown fans yet?
Well, Arizona is definitely watching, so I feel it after the game on social media. I feel the love from the Red Sea, from the Cardinals fans. So you guys know that, we definitely feel you in spirit. Just keep up on the social media. Keep commenting on the Arizona Cardinals Instagram, on all the players' Instagram, because right now, we see it, and we definitely feel the impact that you guys have. But my mom is always watching, and my family as well. So for them not to be here and not to be able to, continue the tradition of us scoring, luckily I can take the ball home and give it to her or give it to someone else in my family. So, colleges gotta keep throwing me touchdowns.
DeAndre.
And that was really cool hearing DeAndre Hopkins, and there's been some great stories written about the relationship between him and his mom and how he does give that ball to her. And she's blind, but she just loves being there and watching those games, listening to those games from the stands. But it's a nice thing, and obviously, like he said, she's still enjoying it, just not from the stadium this year.
I'm sure she's excited to get here, and he gets to save that ball for her, so that's special in itself. All right, let's head up to the booth with the guys who had today's call in this 30-15 win. Guys, back-to-back wins for this team. Can't say it enough since 2015. Now we've had a comeback win, a pretty convincing win here today. Do you have a consensus of what this team is or what the potential is here in 2020?
Wolf, go ahead, man.
Listen, David, you and I were talking about this very thing right here. Just the fact that you went on the road in week 1, you beat the defending NFC champions, the San Francisco 49ers, in their stadium. Boy, that means you've got talent. There's no doubt about that. You got playmakers, and we saw that. But now what are you going to do when you come back and you play a team that you probably should beat, that being the Washington football team? What do you do then? How are you going to play then? This was the biggest question that I had, and it's not just the talent that you have. Now it takes a team to beat a team like Washington, and that means all 3 phases: offensively, defensively, and in transition with special teams. And guess what? That first half in particular, they came out and they handled business. They took care of business right there. That is a hallmark of a good football team.
The defense has improved, there's no question. And the players that Steve Keim brought into the offseason were all impactful, Devondre Campbell in particular. The Cardinals are clearly better on special teams than they were last year. We knew the offense had a chance to be elite. They're close to that. There's still room to grow. That's what's encouraging. The offense can even be better, and they will be better. But they're good enough to be 2-0. And Kyler Murray, if you are a defensive coordinator or a head coach that's a defensive-minded head coach, how do you prepare for this guy? There's no comp. Patrick Mahomes is his own guy. Lamar Jackson is unique. Russell Wilson is different. And so is Kyler Murray. There's really no one in the history of this game that's played that position that you can compare him to. And he's only going to get better. He threw some beautiful deep balls today. We saw him in the open field. He's a nightmare. You can't bring him down. You either run by him or you wait for him, try to break down, and he embarrasses you. I can't wait to see the next step. There's enough, if you're a coach watching this game, to be able to go back and say, we got to do this better, we've got to do that better. And that, to me, is also a sign of a good team. When you're 2-0, yet you know you can play better than you did.
Yeah, Dave, I think the on-schedule passing game still has a little bit of work where they're kind of in fits and starts with that. But going back to Kyler's running ability, it seems like he's being very decisive this season. And when he's dropping back and there's a lane, he's just hitting it vertically and going. And do you notice growth in that with his willingness to run the ball, where last year maybe he sat behind the line of scrimmage and scanned the field longer?
I also feel like, and we'll disagree if you want, I also feel like he's done a better job of knowing when to throw the ball away and not trying to outrun the fast defensive linemen. The guys that he went up against today, Chase Young and Montez Sweat, they're as athletic defensive linemen as you're going to see. And he didn't try to outrun those guys. He did outrun Chase Young one time, but he did a better job of throwing the ball away, not taking a loss by running out of bounds, and not trying to do too much when he was in the pocket. Just get out of there and live to play the next down.
A couple of things on Kyler Murray running the ball, guys. I have to tell you, it's the second most demoralizing thing that can happen to a football team when a quarterback on 3rd and 10 pulls the ball down and converts with his legs. How many times have we seen this with Russell Wilson, David, over and over and over again? It's demoralizing to a football team. And then the fact that Kyler Murray today actually ran the ball on called runs, I believe 5 times, where they snapped him the ball. And it was like, Kyler, go run the ball. That's the most we've ever seen Cliff Kingsbury call for Kyler Murray right now. That's a part of this rushing attack that is going to be really interesting to watch develop over the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Wolf, I'm going to direct this question to you, former special teams Pro Bowler. How improved is this special teams unit? 2 takeaways in 2 games.
Just huge. It really is, Lisa. Are you kidding me right now? You want to talk about momentum swings. Think of the special teams and what they have done the last 2 weeks to block that kick. It changed the complexion of that game. They were down 10 points on the road to the defending NFC champions, blocked the kick. Suddenly they score a touchdown. It changed the entire complexion of the game. That's what special teams does. 2 things in particular. It controls field position more so than anything else, and it can just provide a momentum swing that's hard to quantify. It happened here today. Once again, they actually scored off of that. So Jeff Rodgers has got the special teams playing at a very, very high level, and that had an awful lot to do with the Cardinals and how well they played in that first half.
That's called the softball question. You just toss one up about special teams to Wolf, and he's loving that. Dave, wrapping up, looking at the defense and overall, are you impressed or surprised at all about how good this defense has been with so many new pieces trying to fit in early on?
Not having those preseason games, having a different training camp than you've had in the past, a little, considering how many new pieces they've added, and having Patrick Peterson for a whole season. They didn't have him for the beginning of last year. And you lose Jalen Thompson a few snaps into week 1 as your starting safety next to Budda Baker. So a little surprise. But I also think, too, last year you had a first-time head coach, new defensive coordinator, rookie quarterback. I mean, you had so many no Patrick Peterson, so many moving pieces. This looks like a team that had a really good camp. And because we didn't have the access that we normally have, I think, and I mentioned this before, guys, I feel like not having preseason games benefited the Cardinals more than other teams because Cliff is used to that. He's used to not having preseason games. He didn't have to spend all this time running a fake offense out there to waste time in preseason games. They could just say, we're going to run our offense, we're going to run our defense every single day, and it looks like they're really sharp on both sides of the ball.
All right, guys, I'm sure it feels good to be calling a win once again. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
All right, guys.
All right, let's head to our Twitter feed to see what the fans, what our players are saying. Great team win. Love this team. Hashtag go Cards.
Another solid game from Buda Baker.
Kenyon Drake, great team win. 0-0 mindset every week, but it feels good to be 2-0. Wish we had fans, though. Missing y'all rocking the nest. Everyone be safe. 100 emoji. Simple, 2-0. That's all you need to know. Rise up, Red Sea.
Hassan Reddick has been one of the more underrated aspects of this team, where not much was expected of him. He played well today. I thought he's played well in both of these games, and everybody wondered, with him going from inside linebacker to outside linebacker, would he be able to even be in the rotation? And he's certainly playing a decent amount. We talked about Devon Kennard earlier having the sack. They've gotten a nice little rotation with that group on the opposite side of Chandler Jones.
Hold up. Did I not call a Hassan Reddick sack?
Yes, you did.
I was almost spot on my predictions there.
Yeah.
ESP.
And you said Devon Kennard.
Yes, which he ended up just doing a flex for his celebration. I should know that, what his celebration is. But we didn't get the Chandler Jones.
But he did get the fumble recovery. Yeah, he's definitely usually the guy forcing the fumbles, but he picked up that one.
Well, let's talk about our SRP power performer, and there's no question here who it is here today. Kyler Murray.
Yeah, huge game from Kyler Murray today, and
Tight ends to the right, snap to Murray, drops back to throw.
You look at the deep throw. I mean, he's got everything. He can run the ball, and the ability to throw the ball deep like that is just incredible.
I love your tweets throughout the game. Cheat code with his arm and then his feet. I mean, he's just an elite quarterback, no question, top 5 in the league right now.
It's so rare, and Dave Pasch was talking about it, where there's not a comp for Kyler Murray because he can do what he did with his legs. I mean, look at the way he's juking defensive backs. These guys are used to tackling running backs and receivers, and he's looking shiftier than everybody. And the fact that he can throw the ball 54 yards field on a line, the skill set is just unbelievable.
And like you said earlier in the show, he does seem to have a lot more confidence here now. You know, being able to take off with his feet and make plays happen. We know that's his MO, but just seeing those deep balls too and how beautiful he releases the ball out of his hands to meet his receivers.
I think that's really going to unlock the offense. The fact that teams now have to be worried about him putting his foot in the ground and just taking off like that. And like you said, if you keep the safety back, he's going to run. If you start creeping that safety up into the box, he's going to throw it over the top, and like he did with Andy Isabella and Christian Kirk. But just really, really impressive numbers from Kyler Murray as we look at the comparison. 286 yards passing, 67 rush yards. I mean, there were some inconsistencies in that third quarter. They had some penalties, and he had the early interception. But overall, just so much to build on. And when you don't play well and you still score 30 points and you win by 2 touchdowns, like DeAndre Hopkins was saying, the ceiling for this team seems pretty high.
And he did have that interception. I mean, it was kind of a poor decision, intercepted by Collins there. But you just see him rebound rather quickly going ahead in this game.
Impressive job of him turning it around. And now we've got Devondre Campbell heading to the mic.
I think we've had a great start thus far, but as anything, there's still a lot of work to do. We have some corrections that definitely need to be made, but at this point, I think we've been doing pretty well, gelling together, considering that we haven't had a ton of time together, but I definitely think we're doing pretty good at this point.
Next three, please. Darren Urban, Catherine Fitzgerald, Kevin Zimmerman.
Hey, Devondre, you've been so good in coverage these last 2 games, and I know that was kind of your reputation coming in. As a linebacker, and you're not a small guy, I mean, is that just something you've always done? Is it something that you've had to learn? And do you think coaches are ever surprised when they first see you that you're as good at it as you are?
I always kind of pride myself in being multi-dimensional. You know, I feel like I can rush, cover, and play behind the ball. That's something that I've always kind of took pride in throughout the course of my football career. And, yeah, some people are surprised considering I am a bigger guy and I can run with tight ends, wide receivers, and running backs. So it kind of surprises a lot of people, but it never surprises me because I know what I'm capable of.
Devondre, y'all held Washington without a point in the first half and were so effective throughout the game. What was the key to just being so efficient on defense today?
I think the biggest key is just taking it one play at a time. We understood coming into this game that we were going against a confident team. They had a big win last week, coming back from 17-0, so we understood that, no matter what happened in the game, we just had to take it one play at a time because they weren't going to give up. They were going to keep fighting no matter what, and I think we handled business for the most part.
Hey, Devondre, you mentioned that there's room for improvement and just in the box score. Where would you kind of look toward as far as what you guys can do better as a unit?
I just think we need to continue chipping away on the little things, communication, leverage, just things that we can control.
We will wrap it up with Catherine Fitzgerald, please.
Andre, what's it like from the defensive side watching Kyler Murray do what he does on some of those touchdown runs or just throughout the game?
I mean, it's pretty cool because he does it against us in practice, so it's always cool seeing it translate to the game. But no, Kyler, he's a really good quarterback. He can throw it, he can run. I mean, there's nothing he can't do, so the sky's the limit for him. We just have to keep getting better as a team every week.
Devondre, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay tuned.
Now, Kyle, what I found interesting, we saw rookie Isaiah Simmons out there on that first series, but diminished a little throughout the game, obviously. Campbell just playing so well, making plays left and right. 9 total tackles today.
It's nice having different guys available where Isaiah Simmons didn't have a great first game, and in this one his role was definitely minimal, but De'Vondre Campbell is playing extremely well right now. Jordan Hicks is playing well. And inside linebacker was the spot where the Cardinals really struggled last season. They didn't have a lot next to Jordan Hicks. So the fact that they have options there, and De'Vondre Campbell, the job he's doing against the run and against the pass has been super impressive. This defense is deeper this season, and De'Vondre Campbell is a pretty big reason why.
Well, we have lots to talk about after a win, so be sure to join us tomorrow morning on our Morning Scramble show on Facebook and YouTube. Myself, Kyle Odegard, Jody Jackson, Felipe Corral at 10 a.m. It's our little breakfast morning show. We get our coffee and we get to, just go over the game once again because, like I said, there's plenty to talk about. Let's look here at our social media tweets and videos. Definitely likes starting the season 2-0, Red Sea. AZ Coyotes girl.
I like the Patrick Peterson gif of him dancing. There's a lot of people doing that in their living rooms today, I'm sure.
I like the Kyler Murray celebration dance that he did. We're going to have to see if we have that clip. It was pretty fly for Kyler Murray. All right, let's talk a little bit, Kyle, we were talking about before the show just how innovative Cliff Kingsbury can be in this offense. And now playing in a game like this with the lead, we saw so many different combinations, Justin Murray, 2 tight ends, direct snaps. I mean, he has the ability in a game like this to really kind of showcase and play around with what he wants to do with this offense.
How about the 4th and 1 from his own 27-yard line, and Chris Streveler has the ball on the snap, and then Christian Kirk comes around on an end around and gets the first down. He's just showing no fear in that situation. A lot of coaches would have certainly punted that ball, and that drive didn't end up well, but I think it was a good showing of what Cliff Kingsbury wants to do. He feels like from a personnel standpoint, he's just very excited about what this offense can do, and you're right, they have the horses now. It's just not Kyler Murray trying to figure it out. You've got DeAndre Hopkins, you've got Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk still. Kenyon Drake's playing well now. Andy Isabella's in the mix.
Yeah.
Cliff Kingsbury is certainly a schematic genius, and now he has the personnel to really take it to the next level.
Hopefully we see a lot of fun here ahead for this team. Again, they get the win here against the Washington football team, 30-15. Next week, the Lions come into town for another home game that starts our pregame show off at 12:30 right here on Facebook and YouTube. Be sure to join us. We are so happy to celebrate this win here with you today. We will see you next week for our pregame show. Take care, everyone.